Writer's block. Yes. I did an entire piece about writer's block, but I felt it's such a big problem for a lot of people that it deserved something like this. So here we go. Writer's block. In my personal opinion, writer's block is nothing more than a term used by people who are too darn impatient. Seriously, if you can't find the inspiration to write something, then just don't write. It's very simple. But what I have, what my bad. Let me try that again. But what I did notice is that a lot of people use writer's block as an excuse for perfectionism. Because let's be real here for a second. Writer's block means you can't write. Like you can't find the inspiration to write. That's what writer block is, right? That's how it's defined for me, right? Here's the question though. You telling me you can't sit down and just type, he sat down and he typed. He walked and he talked. He went to a movie. And then something happened. You can't do that? That's not a possibility. And I know in the back of your mind thinking, like, who in the world would write that? Here's the thing. You're the one with writer's block. So you should be the one writing that. Because you need to write something to get over the writer's block. And that's the thing when I said perfectionism. Because a lot of people can just write something, but they want it to be of a certain level at all times. It's not possible. Not everything is going to be amazing. Not everything is going to be stunning. Some stuff is just going to be bad. So if you have writer's block, you know what you need to do? You need to sit down and write a really, really bad story or a bad poem. Heck, write a bad something. Doesn't even have to be a story or a poem or a prose or a stanza. Doesn't have to be anything. Just write something. Just sit down and put a bunch of words together. Make sure it's grammatically correct. Just so you can say you wrote something that's okay. Because at the end of the day, good or bad are all subjective. You decide if something is good or bad. And that's what writer's block does to people. Writer's block makes you feel you have to write something amazing because of the fact you haven't written something for a while. And let's just say you feel you can't sit down and write something just to write something. It has to be something of value. What you write has to be amazing because you are a writer. Whatever. If that's your opinion, if that's the case, what you're dealing with right now, you know what you need to do? Then you need to figure out at what point something changed in your life that stopped you from being able to write. Because at the end of the day, that's it. If you were able to write every single day, bam, 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 and all of a sudden, writer's block. Stop dead in your tracks. You can't move. You can't move. Something happened. Something happened. You either ran out of words, which means you don't experience enough in life, or something external happened that messed up your whole internal creative process and that stopped you from writing. So figure that out and then just go back to writing. And if you have something completely different, like you're emotionally scarred or someone, I don't know, someone stole your book and you can't write in any other book but that book, learn how to write in a different book, people. Life is full of change. Matter of fact, the only constant in life is change. So deal with it. Get comfortable with it. You can't sit here and expect everything to be the same all the time because life is going to change every single day. Whether you notice it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, life is going to change. And that's what writer's block is. An inability or unwillingness to accept change. Because if you could accept change, you would still be writing. I promise you that. I promise you that. If you are a real writer at heart, then there's no such thing as writer's block. There's just no such thing. Because a real writer will just write regardless of writer's block. It's very easy. It's very easy. And don't use excuses like, yeah, I'm busy with such and such, so I can't do nothing. That's not writer's block. That's not writer's block. That's life getting in the way of writing. And don't use excuses like, my family is all. It's life giving you excuses not to write. That's not writer's block. That's something different. If you're going to use the excuse of writer's block, at least let it be a legit mental problem and not a perfectionist thing. Like, I want the pieces I write to be amazing. I want them to be stunning. That's why I can't write no ordinary stuff. Don't say that. Let it at least be a mental problem that's stopping you from putting your pen to the pad or your fingers to the keyboard. Let it be a mental problem. And let it be a real mental problem. Don't let it be, I couldn't go to the bathroom for a week, so now I can't write. If you say that, no. Let it be a real problem. And even if it's a real problem, even then, you can still write. I promise you can still write. And if you lack inspiration, that is a problem. If you can't find the inspiration to write, then you might have a slight problem. Because some people have this idea that they can't write without inspiration. Again, perfectionism. That's perfectionism. But I get that. I do. As a writer, I get it. As a writer, I get that you need to be inspired to write something. Because if you write something uninspired, it won't feel as good. The final product won't feel like you put your all into it. I get that. I do. But then don't complain about writer's block. They go hand in hand, people. They go hand in hand. Writer's block is you telling you can't write. There's no one else in here. There's no one else in this equation going like, hey, you cannot write. I put a brick wall between you and the book. No, you can't write. Get out of here. Get out of here. You got a pen? Drop the pen. Drop the pen. There's no one doing that to you. There's no writer's block. There's no one out here with a machete like, if you touch that pen, I'm going to cut you. No one is doing that to you. It's just you telling you can't write. That's what writer's block is. So stop being so impatient and just write something. Just to write it. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be stunning. It doesn't even have to be a complete finished product. But just write. If you just keep writing, eventually you will get back into the groove of things and you will get back to where you want to be before you got stuck in this so-called writer's block. I promise you that. From me to you. From Pino Finitas to you. I promise you, if you just stick with it, if you just keep going, if you just keep writing regular, ordinary, uninspired stuff, eventually you will get inspired again. And if not, then you will just get very mad at yourself and write something good just to prove to yourself that you can still write. It happens too. Most writers are competitive. They don't like other writers being that good. Yeah, am I? And if you really can't find any inspiration, try different approaches to inspiration. Because some people find their inspiration in someone else's work. Like, this guy just wrote an amazing piece. I can do better than that. Other people get inspired by reading something. It's like, yo, this tells my life story. I need to write something similar to this. It happens. Some people read something and be like, this deserves a part 2. It happens. Try to find different sources of inspiration if you have so-called writer's block. But at the end of the day, I'm sticking to what I just said. Writer's block is still a myth made up by people who are just too darn impatient. Yeah. Luckily, I never had writer's block because I follow what I just said. Like, if I don't have the inspiration to write something, I just sit down and write something. It's that simple. I'm not out here trying to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. It's a myth created by probably writers. Yeah, I'll give them to writers. I'll give it to writers. Yeah, I'll give it to writers. Yeah, writers are a real pain in the neck. There they are. Yeah. So yeah, that's my view on writer's block. I'm very curious though, because I have a lot of poets and writers in my list right here. Do you or did you ever experience writer's block? And if so, do you know why it happened? Do you know like what caused it? And I'm just very curious. How did you get over it? How did you get past the writer's block? I'm very curious. I would love to hear your stories. So drop them in the comments below. and let me know what happened and how you solved it and whatnot. 'Cause I'm super curious right now because I truly believe that writer's block is not a real thing. I'm just saying it's not a real thing. In my view, it's not a real thing. You can just get over it. Stop being a perfectionist. Just write. Just go. Just go. Just write something. See what happens. See what happens. All right. That's about it. Thanks for coming. Make sure to see you on the next one. Fino.
Love. Loss. Finding yourself. Acceptance. Moving on. Pulse. Available now.